Today on Wildcat Creations.
Your party has tracked the lichens through the mountains until at last you find a ruined stronghold. But as night falls, the torches blaze, the runes awaken, and the battlefield comes alive. When suddenly, werewolves prowl. Roll initiative.
And today, I'll show you how to craft this Wolf Lodge encounter for your own tabletop adventures. Let's get to crafting. I got these wolf molds from Amazon, and I'll put a link down in the description. And I filled them with hot glue, and then once they cooled down enough, I pulled them out and then I started painting them. After I got done painting them, next is to put together the scene and figure out where I'm going to place stuff. And I took 2 pieces of foam that I had, or scrap that were laying around, and then I put toothpicks in there to hold them together when I glue them and to help provide support. When hot gluing foam together, you're going to want to use a low setting on your hot glue gun if you have one. Otherwise, you might melt the foam. I went ahead and added a small piece in the back to help support the platform that I'm going to put on top of it. Then once that was dry, I have a texture roller that I got off of Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description for them. And I just went ahead and pushed them down onto the foam pretty hard, and it will create a stone-like texture on the foam that will give me a little bit of basis for a ground that's a little less boring than just regular foam. And then for the platform, I do the same thing, making sure that the texture matches everything else so that it's nice and uniform. Next part, these are the walls that are going to go on either side of the doorway, and I'm adding texture again to make them look uniform, but I'm also going to cut them at a 45-degree angle, which I didn't show on camera, but I'm also going to give them texture as well. So now I cut a couple of bigger pieces, thicker pieces, and I'm going to use these as my entryway on either side of the door. And again, I'm taking toothpicks, putting them in there for stability, using hot glue on a low temperature, and sealing them down, holding them until they cool. Okay, now that the doorways are done for the sides of the doorway, I'm going to attach the sides to the entryway to kind of blockade and funnel the party or whoever into that, or provide cover. In my mind, it was more of a crumbling lodge, and I wanted to make sure that it looked like it had an entryway proper. You'll notice that the texture on the inside of those isn't done, and I address that later on. Next, I'm adding some side walls to make it look more like a fortress's exterior. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and cut some of these sides down to make them look a little bit more jagged. And I'm just taking an X-Acto knife and creating a little pattern of what I want to cut away. And I do that on both sides. Once I'm done with that, I actually made some of these little foam bricks that I have another video that I can link in this one. I'll put a link above, and it's really easy to do as long as you have like a Proxxon wire cutter. It's a hot wire cutter. It's really easy to do. It's just kind of monotonous. But I use the bricks here to start building up a wall texture that looks a little more authentic. now that it's shaping up the way I like it, I'm going to move on to the next step. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, the pieces that I took off of the walls to make it look more crumbled and aged, I saved those pieces and then I put them down below, as you can see on the right and left here, and that makes it look more realistic, like the bricks had crumbled, fell, and kind of dispersed a little bit. Okay, now it's time to make the doorway, and I just took a piece of foam, made it a little bit thinner, and I used the Proxon for that. And then I just took my pencil here and I'm making lines of grain in the foam, and then when I paint it, those lines, when I do a black wash on it, will actually look more like wood. It's actually a pretty cool technique. Now once I have the texture to where I like it, I'm actually splitting the door down the middle to make it look like a two-door entry, and it actually turns out pretty good. I also take some rings later on and put them on to make it look like a little door handle and hinges as well. Alright, I went ahead and Mod Podged this, and I added some sticks. I did some dry brushing to give it sort of like a stone look. And these sticks are quite literally these little wooden sticks you can get at the hobby store. And I just cut them in half, and I painted them, and made it look like the stones were being held up by these wooden beams. I think it added a lot of character to it. Now it's time to add the door. And as you can see, I've already added the rings. I've painted it, done a black wash on it, and now I'm ready to glue it into place. Okay, off camera I went ahead and created the top to go over the doorway, and then I added the wolf's heads molds. Say that 10 times fast. Again, used toothpicks, hot glue, held it down, let it cool. I'm a poet, didn't even know it. As I continued through the project, I felt like something was missing, and I wanted to add more depth to it, so I added these side walls. And here's the end result for the sidewalls. I think it definitely gives it more depth, not to mention an ambush type feel. Now on to the electronics part. So I built a flickering fire using 2 flickering LEDs, one red and one yellow. All the LEDs in this project are run off of a coin battery, that is 3 volts, I believe. Every good campfire needs a pile of wood, so I made one. After securing the fire to the seam, I went ahead and made some more rubble with some more rock terrain, kind of fill in the space a little bit. And I also added a walkway, which is nothing more than just a thin piece of foam. I added some texture to it, glued it down, added some rocks to it on the side to kind of hide the fact that it is an afterthought, which it was. It also hides the seam of those 2 pieces of foam that are stuck together. Little pro tip here, if you put down some terrain, some rocks and stuff, take some Mod Podge, put it in a spray bottle, thin it down a bit, and then spray it on. It'll help hold everything in place. Alright, here I've already wired up one of the LEDs and I put some shrink tubing on it. And I'm going to use this hand drill to make a hole for the center glyph and for the 2 torches on the side. After wiring all of them up, I decided to put them all onto a single coin battery holder, wire it up, and I'll paint it later to make it look good. So another thought occurred to me while I was on this journey. You know, I could probably hook up the fire and torches and the symbol all to one coin battery, and so that's what I'm doing here. I hooked up the fire to a pair of wires, and then I took my soldering gun and I melted a path, and I did it quickly so you don't get any of the vapors, and I went down through the center and made another little path, and it worked out perfectly. I am so guilty of project creep, it's not even funny. Alright, the back of it's painted. It doesn't look pretty, but your players won't see it. Kinda like your dirty laundry in the corner. And there you have it. One wolf lodge, tucked in the mountains, ready to ambush your party. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And if you did, and you want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, and follow me along on my journey with more weird stuff that I create, and project creep, because that's going to happen. Here's a little video at the end, and hope you don't get sick with the fly through. I also failed to mention that I did put some blacklight reactive paint on the door, and so that it glows when it's hit with a blacklight. Pretty cool effect. Thanks for watching.